At the Evergreen Manor family banquet, my parents asked me to make a charity auction for marriage. But young Duke, in order to take the blame for the fake daughter, deliberately knocked my embroidered ball into a passing funeral carriage. Everyone was watching the joke, and young Duke expected me to beg him. He asked me to choose between being a concubine and marrying a dead man. He also threatened, even if you are the real daughter of the Lin family, so what? The person I really love is Wan Wan. When I marry her, then you will call each other as sisters. Don't be that jealous woman. Or else. I interrupted him. Straightly said, I will marry whoever receives the embroidered ball. I marry. Hearing my words, Qi Ming's gloating face was completely overwhelmed. Serena, what do you mean? I quietly turned around and looked at the funeral procession passing by under the ring. Coincidentally, the embroidered ball rested firmly on top of the funeral carriage at the head of the procession, which caused the people watching the good show to change their faces. That's War God's funeral carriage, isn't it? Which war god? Naturally, it's the young General Adrian, who became famous at a young age but died on the way back to the court. I heard that it was a revenge killing, and the death was so tragic that the body was cold when it was found. It's a pity that he died at a young age. What a pity, lost his life at a young age, and now he can't even die in peace. The red lacquer color funeral carriage highlights the dignity of the owner of the funeral carriage. My complexion stiffened, and those words naturally fell into my ears. Never thought that this coffin was actually his. Qi Ming frowned and couldn't help but speak. You're really willing to marry a dead man. How can I say that you're also Secretary's Mansion's 1,000 gold, although you've been living in exile for more than 10 years, but now that you've returned, you've degraded yourself to marry a dead man. I clenched my fists at my side, wanting to refute her. He's no one else. He's a general who died in battle. Fake 1,000 gold. Vivian clenched her red lips and spoke weakly. Sister, I know that you are just gambling for a moment, wanting Brother Qi Ming to marry you. You obviously like Brother Qi Ming so much. How could you willingly marry a dead man? Qi Ming heard this and the last trace of apology in his eyes disappeared. There was undisguised dislike in his eyes. Serena, I used to only know that you have a deep heart. I didn't expect you to have no lower limits like this. Even I want to design me in. Such a vicious woman like you really disgusts me to the core. Qi Ming expected me to make this ploy as a desire for love, in order to give me a warning. He opened his mouth and said to Shin's father and mother, didn't Shin Wenqing say that she wanted to marry this dead man? Since this is the case, how about you guys fulfill her? Hearing this, my back stiffened, and bitterness flowed from the corner of my mouth. The marriage between Secretary's Mansion and Duke's estate was a baby marriage. The ancestors of the two families knew each other well, and after I returned to Secretary's Mansion, the marriage naturally fell into my lap. When I first met Qi Ming, I had just returned to the Shin residence. A few gentlemen from the Shin mansion were playing polo in the outer courtyard, and Qi Ming was there. When I passed by, the polo ball was about to fall on my head, and it was Qi Ming who saved me. It was Qi Ming who saved me. The young man's brilliant smile shone a light on my shattered life. That was the first person who protected me in the Shin residence. In the past, no one cared if I lived or died when I was out in the world. And no one asked me if it hurt when I was bumped or bruised. It was Qi Ming who brought me a ray of light in this strange place. I was grateful, so when I saw his jade pendant fall into the lotus pond, I jumped into the river without thinking. And the cold river water stung my bones, but I couldn't block the hot heart. But when I picked up the jade pendant, want to return to him, but heard his friends asked him, do you really fancy Shin Wenqing? Qi Ming sneered. I just thought of a more fun way to do it. Didn't she steal Wan Wan's status as a true thousandaire? She has to take a good revenge for Wan Wan, right? Those brothers of his whistled, and one or two of them had a watchful smile on their faces. That was the first time I saw another side of He Ming. I was disgusted. Too, I left as if I were running away, wanting to find my mother to dissolve the marriage. I walked to the door, but I heard Vivian's voice, secretary's mansion from childhood to hold in the heart of the thousand gold, at the moment nestled in the arms of the mother pampered. Mother, I don't want that bitch to steal my marriage with brother He Ming. That was mine in the first place. You guys quickly think of a solution for me. Vivian was spoiled and bossy, and resented me for stealing her position as the first wife. She dragged her mother to complain. I thought my mother would reprimand her. But I didn't expect my mother to open her mouth and say the words I would never expect. She said, "Who said anything about giving up this marriage to Serena? Mother has already thought of it for you. Anyway, this Duke's estate marriage will still be going on in the open. When she marries over there, then casually arrange for her to lose her virginity so that she will be kicked out of Duke's estate. And then at that time, let young Duke marry you in splendor. Wouldn't it be better?" My blood seemed to freeze and my face turned pale. From that day on I knew that I had no home. No one would stand by me. The Shin family viewed me as a jackal, wolf, tiger, and leopard. My fiancé felt that I had taken his beloved's place, and staying here would only end in my death. So I took the liberty of agreeing to toss the bouquet to choose a husband. Just want to completely get rid of this family, even if it is married to a dead man. It's done. They'll follow my daughter's wishes. This matter we promised. Shin mother looked at the funeral procession of the general's house, where there was a trace of sadness in the bottom of her eyes. She has long been itching to marry me off casually, so as to make room for Vivian. Obviously have long predicted. I actually in their hearts is not important. But when I heard it in person, my eyes were still a little sour. Well, I would have been no one once orphan. Just some of the people in the funeral carriage, once the scenery of the teenage generals, but after the death of the use of me, sacrificing innocence to marry a woman like me. I feel guilty in my heart. The only way to repay his kindness is to mourning period for him. Adrian and his wedding was scheduled for 3 days later. The news quickly spread throughout the capital. But Mother Shin didn't ask anyone to clean up my wedding room, nor did she ask anyone to decorate the wedding. On the contrary, Vivian's yard is full of rich dowries. I heard that the Shin family had changed the wedding date and set it for 3 days later. The 2 daughters are getting married. One is decorated. The other is cold and quiet. This is not favored at a glance. Instead, the yard's old mom saw me like this and couldn't bear to say, "Mrs. This 3 days later is also the wedding date of Miss. Why do you only tighten the second Miss? So not afraid of Miss Cold Heart?" Shin mother was bow-face, annoyed and angry said. How can Wan Wan compare with Serena? Wan Wan married to Duke's estate, that is to do Duke's estate Mrs. Whereas Yun Qing married to a dead man. This is not rushed to live a life of solitude. This newlywed is the most taboo of the dead man. To blame her for being born with a bad life. Shin mother's mouth is not a choice of words. And only when she finished did she notice my gaze on the promenade. She looked very embarrassed. She was not familiar with her own daughter. In the past, she pretended to be decent, but it was only because she was in the way of the face of Secretary's mansion. Now that there are good things, she naturally thought of her own little daughter that she brought up since she was a child. Well, you don't say mother is biased. Your sister is to be married to Duke's estate people. In the future. Less need to make a point. Anyway, you married to a dead man. Holding these things is also a waste. Why not add more dowry to your sister? As you do, this sister's a heart. Shin mother said with a straight face. The old mother still wanted to say something, was stopped by me. Mother said yes. Leave all these things to mother's discretion. The wedding is approaching. I do not want to make a scene. This dowry as I return the favor of the Shin family. When I leave the Shin family in the future, I will not be the first daughter of the Shin family. The next day Duke's estate door to propose marriage. Looking around the entire secretary's mansion door is a dozen boxes of bride price. This is already one of the highest number of bride price in the capital. I don't know how many young women were envied by Vivian, who was blushing. Vivian's face is blushing, and she is surrounded by people who come to congratulate her on her wedding. Young Duke is also very affectionate. So many bride price is almost one of the best in the capital, right? If you ask me, the second young lady is really lucky to have married such a good husband, unlike the eldest young lady, who was picked up as a wild girl. She's so spoiled. She doesn't know how to be polite, and she said she'd marry a dead man in the street. Really bad luck. Secretary's mansion's face has been disgraced by her. Vivian heard this kind of words, hold back not to laugh out loud. On her face, she also had to pretend to be sensible and open her mouth. Sister, why don't I share half of my bride price with you? After all, you are going to marry a dead man and there is no one to prepare a bride price for you. Although you and I are not related by blood, you are after all my nominal sister. These are all things I should do. Vivian pretended to be a handful of pathetic. But I didn't appreciate it and subconsciously pushed her away. No need. Once Vivian heard this, her small face turned pale, as if she was a shaking white lotus flower. He Ming tenderly held her hand. Wan, you are just too kind. Don't worry, in the future with me, I will definitely not let her bully you again. He Ming skimmed over to me, and his complexion went cold. Shin Wenqing, previously knocking down your embroidered ball was just to teach you a lesson. Now you kneel down and admit your fault to Wan. Perhaps I can still help you get Mrs. Shin to retract her order. Although I'm not interested in you, it's not impossible to take you as a concubine. Looking at his villainous face. Suddenly I felt that I was blind before and liked such a person. I couldn't make waves in my heart and swept him a glance. No need. I won't marry anyone but someone like you as a concubine. And don't hang a dead man on your lips. Even if he is gone, he is still your brother-in-law. In the future, don't forget the rules. Don't ask people to think that your Duke's estate has given birth to young Duke who has no upbringing. He Ming didn't expect me to look weak and civilized, but I am so sharp-tongued. Somewhat exasperated, he said. Do you still think you're that graceful first daughter of Secretary's mansion? What kind of place is the General's mansion? How can it be able to look at someone like you? Otherwise, why don't they come down to offer you a job now? Vivian was a bit gloating and came over to me, wanting to hold my hand. Sister, you just give in, even if you are gambling. You can't joke about your life's work, as long as you admit your fault. Brother He Ming will certainly forget about the past. I subconsciously pushed her away, not wanting to be tainted by bad luck. But Vivian deliberately fell back. Ah! A sound was heard. The whole person seems to be pushed to the ground by me, trembling body covering her face, crying heartbreakingly. If sister is straightforward, I can give up the position of the first wife. But why is sister humiliating me like this? He Ming panicked and helped her up. Very angry. Serena, how dare you bully Wan? I have long been familiar with her little tricks. In the past, I tolerated it. That was because I lived under the same roof and had to restrain myself. But they have long forgotten that I myself am a child raised among the countryside. Since she wants to act, I don't mind accompanying her to fake it. Straight away, I picked up a cup of tea and poured it over her head. That's what I do. Vivian was really crying this time. He Ming was heartbroken to see her cry. and his anger was all vented on me. Shin Wenqing, you are really incorrigible. Leave the Shin family. Who do you think you still are? You're just waiting to be kicked out of the house by the general's house. I clenched my hands at my side. Whether or not the general house kicks me out has nothing to do with you. As the words fell, a sudden burst of shadows fell. I was blocked by someone. Don't be afraid. The general mansion won't expel anyone for nothing. That gentle voice rang out. He Ming's face darkened as he looked at the masked man in front of him. Speaking very nonchalantly, "What kind of person are you?" The masked man stood quietly behind him. His skin carried an imperceptible pallor. The corners of his eyes narrowed slightly under the mask, but his speech gave off an invisible pressure. Naturally, it is the person who has come to place an order for the general's residence. I blinked, and what I turned around to bump into were those deep eyes. Very pretty, like I've seen them somewhere. He Ming was booed out of face. His face was ugly. Does the general house really want to marry such a woman? He had only said that I would be swept away by the general mansion on one foot, and then this person came to place the offer on the back foot, making it clear that she was going against him. Although Serena is the first daughter of Secretary's mansion, she has grown up in the countryside since she was a child. She is rude and barbaric, and she even went so far as to hurt her own sister in order to compete for favor. This kind of woman, it's not too late for you to withdraw from the marriage, lest you stir up the general's mansion when the time comes. Who knew that the masked man's breath suddenly turned cold? To withdraw or not to withdraw from the marriage, is it also up to you? He Ming was at least the first son of Duke's estate, and when he heard his nonchalant words, his face instantly darkened. I am Duke's estate first son He Ming. With a lowly servant like you daring to talk to me like this, I now want you to kneel down and apologize to me. Otherwise, they'll break your bones and feed them to the dogs. Hearing this, I subconsciously blocked in front of the masked man, but was lightly grabbed behind the man. Two retainers suddenly appeared in the ranks behind him. Quickly, accurately, and ruthlessly, they kicked at He Ming's body. The sword at his waist was sheathed and landed steadily on He Ming's neck, cutting out blood marks. So what if it's the first son of Duke's estate? Even if it's the marquis of your house personally coming, he still has to kowtow and apologize to us, boss. Still not quick to roll. He Ming shivered and climbed up, leaving a sentence gray, and ran away. The people watching outside looked sideways. It made him lose face. What are you looking at? If you look, they'll gouge out your eyes. After He Ming left, the attendant would wave his hand. The people carrying the bride price walked in a long line. And as far as the eye could see, there were hundreds of boxes of bride price. When Shin father and mother arrived, the entire courtyard could barely fit. Father Shin narrowed his eyes and sized up the masked man. May I ask who your excellency is? The masked man opened his mouth at his words. I was ordered by my wife to place the bride price for the general's wife. This is the bride price list. So it was the steward of the general's residence. I quietly surveyed this man. His temperament is extraordinary. Are all the people in the general's residence like this? But she was happy that this person helped him. When the people in the courtyard were almost gone, I said my thanks. Many thanks for relieving me today. The masked man hooked his lips. No need to be polite with me. Sent you two people. If there's anything you can directly order them to do. Originally, he just wanted to come to place a hire, but he didn't expect to run into the scene. Since it was someone from the general's residence, I didn't refuse. When the man left, only Vivian and Mother Shin were left in the courtyard. Mother. Vivian pulled on Mother Shin's wrist and pouted. Then when she looked at me, her eyes were filled with jealous rage. As if to say, Serena, you wait for me. Shin mother looked at the bride price and could not help but be excited. I am worried that your sister dowry is still almost there. It is just that I can use your bride price to fill in a 1 or 2. Xiao Chui. Shin mother's words were not finished. The 2 maids of honor left behind by the general's house opened their mouths. These bride price are for the big miss, which contains the first Empress royalty heirloom. Could it be that you even royalty heirloom also want to take possession for private? Possessing royal heirloom privately is punishable by beheading. Shin's mother's good plan came to naught. She gave me an indignant look and left the courtyard with Vivian. I looked at the 2 maids of honor gratefully. Thank you. The maid saluted. Miss, do not have to be polite. These are all we should do. Miss Future is the general's wife. How can you allow others to bully to go? Although we have never met. But the feeling of being protected makes my heart warm. More to the wedding in a few days to look forward to a few points. On the wedding day, 2 daughters of the secretary's mansion were married at the same time. With Aurora and Luna, no one in secretary's mansion dares to pick on me. Hundreds of boxes of bride price were included in my dowry list, filling up the entire street. And I chose the same day to get married Vivian. Although Shin mother prepared a dowry for her. But in the face of 100 boxes of dowry. Still shabby to the extreme. Vivian angry directly to the wedding room, things all smashed. But also with Shin's mother had a big fight. Blaming her for not useful did not give her more dowry. I just laughed it off when I heard about it. At 10 minutes past noon, I put on my head and stepped out of the door of Secretary's mansion. Whether I live or die in the future has nothing to do with Secretary's mansion. There are many people gathered in front of Secretary's mansion, and their voices are heard in my ears. Look, it's the bride. This is the eldest daughter of Secretary's mansion who has been living outside for more than 10 years. I heard that she is the girl who married War God's corpse in the bouquet. It's a pity that she was widowed at such a young age. If Lord War God was still alive, he would have been a perfect match. If I could rewind time, I would really like to see that spirited young general. Aurora is holding my hand. Suddenly the lively crowd quieted down. Some people are surprised. Is that the general's marriage welcoming party? General Ling. It's General Ling. General Ling is not dead. He came back alive. He Ming and Duke's estate welcoming team walked in front. At the words he turned around and turned back. What he saw was the person at the forefront of the general's welcoming team. His pupils shrank, and the blood on his face lagged, but he recognized those eyes. But it was the person who had placed the offer at Secretary's mansion at that time. How could he be Adrian, that high and mighty war god, who had actually agreed to this marriage? Qi Ming's mind went blank, and when he came back to his senses, Adrian had already stopped at the entrance of Secretary's mansion. He held out his hand to me. Mother, would you like to join me? I was so shocked that I lifted the wedding veil and saw Adrian's face. I moved my mouth to say something, but in the next second my whole body fell into the man's arms and rode with him on the same horse. My cheeks blushed and I wanted to grab the cover. This is not the rules. Adrian seriously attached to my ear. I want to let the whole capital city people all know I married a how beautiful as a flower mother. Wanted to show those people how good you are. As the words fell out of my mouth, I saw He Ming, who was rushing over, still wearing the groom's clothes. His face was very bad. He is a big liar. Yun Qing, come with me. I am going to ask Mrs. Shin to take back her order. You don't want to marry him. My face went a few points colder. It was you who personally knocked down my embroidered ball in the first place. What kind of deep love are you pretending here now? Qi Ming's face whitened a few points, and in his haste, he said under his breath, even if you are the first daughter of Secretary's mansion, but he is war god, a general, do you think you deserve to be with him? Serena, don't flatter yourself. Even if he talks a lot now, he will definitely kick you out in the future. The hands on my waist tightened a bit. I felt a trace of security in my heart. I said, I believe him. Adrian's body gave a lurch, and a wanton smile appeared under his open face. Your mother trusts me. I will not fail you. In the next second, Adrian sharply rolled over and dismounted from his horse, punching He Ming in the face. Rather, it's you, and what qualifications do you have to say this? Don't forget that at the time of toss the bouquet, you were the one who deflected her embroidered ball, making her the joke of the entire capital, and after she returned to Secretary's mansion you concluded that she had robbed Vivian. When you helped someone out, did you think about how much she would be hurt? And now you're here pretending to be a good person. He Ming clutched his head and fell to the ground in a state of disarray. Adrian's fists showed no mercy. I was afraid that someone would be killed and pulled his hand. Seeing this, He Ming thought I was still in love with him. He rushed over and tried to grab my hand. Yunqing, you must still like me, right? Otherwise why would you stop him from continuing to beat me? You must be marrying him just to be angry with me, right? How can you stop? Okay. I admit that I did wrong. As long as you promise to enter the door, I will make it up to you in the future. He Ming ignored the gazes of the people around him and came over attentively. He was kicked to the ground by Adrian. He was furious. Don't think you can just hurt people just because you are war god. I am the first son of Duke's estate. If anything happens to me, you won't be any better. Adrian landed a knife on his neck. His tone cold. You could have tried. Probably a man who had gone to war. Adrian's fierce aura under his sword. He Ming did not doubt for a second that he would lay his hands on him. Directly paralyzed on the ground. You think that Yunqing will like you just like that? A murderous devil like you. It's too late for her to loathe you. For some reason, hearing this I clearly felt that Adrian's breath became different. I didn't want him to get the wrong idea and said bluntly. Who said I don't like him? I have long admired General for a long time. I am willing to marry him. Just stopped him, just afraid of your blood dirty his hands. You such a person is not worthy of his hands. Saying these words has long since exhausted my face. Adrian but laughed softly. In a good mood, he retrieved his sword, and kindly covered my wedding veil for me. Your Highness, let's go home. The horse stopped at the entrance of the general's residence. I was afraid of heights, so Adrian reached across and hugged me off the horse. There were a lot of blessings around us. The general's residence was bustling with activity, and the entrance had already been filled with a huge crowd. Worship when the old lady personally hold my hand, the general's ancestral jade bracelet on my wrist. Said to me, don't be afraid. In the future the general's house is your home. In the future you can call me mother like Adrian. I lowered my head and suppressed my choked sobs. Mother, mother. In the future, I also have a home. There will be a mother who loves me very much, and also my lover. After the guests dispersed, Adrian returned to his room in his wedding clothes. Even many times looking at those eyes of his, I still felt my heart beating faster. Also feel happy. I am not careful. Alcohol only dipped into the cross glass of wine is a little drunk. Grabbing his clothes much bolder. Adrian, haven't we met somewhere before? Adrian took me into his arms, lowered his head and kissed my lips. Yes, we have met before. At the border chapel, in case you don't remember, when I was badly injured and you saved me. In fact, there is no such thing as being young and famous. It's all about killing the blood with your own hands. Adrian is no exception. Adrian is no exception. If it wasn't for someone saving him, he would have died long ago. So toss the bouquet that day. He hides in the dark but still call people agreed to this marriage. The next hire that day he cannot control want to see me personally went to the secretary's mansion. Did not ever think that my situation is so unpopular. He didn't want me to be wronged, and in retrospect, how could I not have known how good he was to me? Adrian said, I want to marry my sweetheart in a sedan chair with 10 miles of red dress. When I heard this, my heart skipped a beat. I jumped into his arms. The voice was low, with the softness of drunkenness. Actually, I remember it all, because you were the first person to say you needed me. After Amethyr died, you were the first one. And then what was said later, I don't remember anymore. I only remember the red candle in the cave room swaying all night. The shadows on the walls lingering and intimate. Soon after the marriage, I also heard some news from my subordinates. He Ming escaped on the wedding day and left his bride alone at home, Vivian said. The next day, Vivian was alone in the house. When she found He Ming, he was drunk in the pleasure house, surrounded by several pleasure house women. Because of this matter, the two people quarrel every now and then. The original point of love disappeared without a trace. It was only then that He Ming realized that Vivian's previous appearance was all pretense. It was for the position of Mrs. Duke's estate. So he regretted more and more for marrying such a jealous woman. In order to anger Vivian, he took courtesan as his concubine a few days before the wedding. The courtesan soon found out that she was pregnant, and Vivian couldn't stand it. Vivian ordered that bitch to be killed, and drove all the women out of Duke's estate, and He Ming drove her out of Duke's estate with a letter of repudiation. After which He Ming always came to see me at the general's house. After that, He Ming always came to the general's estate to look for me, but he was kicked out by Adrian, who gave himself up to the pleasure house, and I don't care about what happened after that. As for what happened after that, I don't care at all. Whether he lives well or not, it has nothing to do with me. 7 Lantern Festival. I just went out with Adrian. I bought a lot of things, all my favorite knickknacks. When I was going home I met Mother Shin at the entrance of the general's mansion, and she was looking at the door in a fidgety manner. Seeing me get down from the carriage, a trace of delight flashed across her face. I comforted to the point of squeezing Adrian's hand, signaling that this place is in my hands. I look over at Adrian when she leaves. Is something wrong? Mother Shin held out her hand in a panic. The basket she carried in her hand held pumpkin pies. Her face was a bit haggard. These days, because of Vivian making such an embarrassing scene, the entire secretary's mansion had also become a joke in the capital, without the general's house as a backer. The secretary's mansion was tortured in the court. That's why they thought of me. Yun Ching Ah, do you have time tomorrow night? Mother made your favorite dishes. Your father had a big illness because you left. He really misses you. Can you go back to see him? Seeing that I didn't say anything, Shin Mother hurriedly opened her mouth. I know that what happened before was all because we were wrong to you. He's your father and I know that we are wrong. Just for the sake of our blood kinship, give us a chance to make amends, okay? Just go home and have a meal, okay? Shin Mother's words earnestly. Eyes are full of tears. As if overnight aged a dozen years, I finally cannot bear or agreed. Before leaving, Adrian circled my waist and kissed me. Really don't want me to follow? I nodded. I don't want them to use you. Secretary's mansion is nothing more than wanting to borrow the general's power. Dinner can be, but chatting about other things is impossible. Adrian helplessly opened his mouth. Then after dinner I'll personally go and pick you up. This is always possible. I agreed, and then he was relieved to let me go. I am not sure if I want to go. After I agreed, he was relieved to let me go home. When I returned to Secretary's mansion again, Shin's mother couldn't stop looking happy. She looked behind me and inadvertently asked, "Did General Ling not come back with you?" I opened my mouth. "He has something to do today." It was a polite refusal. Unexpectedly, Mother Shin looked like she was relieved. Took me into the house. After dinner, I remembered that Adrian said he was coming to pick me up and wanted to leave early. Shin mother was distracted and took out her handkerchief. "Yun Ching-ah, why don't you stay at Secretary's mansion tonight? I've vacated your room for you." I was just about to refuse when I suddenly felt a wave of dizziness. By the time I realized what was happening, my entire body had already collapsed. And when I woke up again, already appeared in the ancestral hall in the backyard of the Shin family. Vivian knelt in front of the ancestors of the Shin family and quietly lit a candle. "Sister, you woke up." I was shocked but realized that my hands were tied. "What are you doing?" Vivian turned around and revealed that hideous face. "What do you think I'm going to do?" "Serena, you really are a ghost. If not for you, how could I be alone in my big wedding and become the laughingstock of the whole capital? Are you satisfied now? You've seduced He Ming's soul. He's married and still thinks of you, and wants to repudiate me and marry you. Without you none of this would have happened. It's all your fault. Why don't you go to hell?" Vivian was so agitated that she pinched my neck. "But don't worry, you're going to die today. When you die, He Ming will like me. You go to hell." Vivian ignited the cloth curtains of the shrine, and the fire rose at an extremely fast speed. Luckily, I had already saved a hand. Quickly pulling out the dagger from my sleeve, I cut off the rope on my hand. Pushing open the door, a man rushed towards me. Tightly embraced me. "Ayun." I patted Adrian's back and barely managed to conjure up a smile. "It's okay. Look, I'm not fine." I suppressed the hard feelings in my heart. After a while, Vivian and Shin's mother were both arrested by Adrian's men. Vivian's head was puffed up like a madman, and her mouth was still cursing me to death. Shin's mother knelt in front of me, her eyes wet with tears. I smiled to myself. Actually, when I came back today, I wanted to give us a chance. But then I realized that I was naive. Shin mother grabbed my sleeve trembling and opened her mouth. I didn't know. It was Wan who said she wanted to give you a lesson. I thought it was just a small fight. I didn't think she wanted your life." Shin father heard, angry slap on her face. "You're confused, bullying our daughter for an outsider. After all, Shin mother was a great lady from a deep bosom. Where had she seen this scene?" She cried and explained, Wan is also our daughter. You have watched her grow up since she was a child. She has been wronged outside and came back to talk to me as her mother. Can I just watch and not care?" Suddenly, my heart seemed to be relieved. In fact, God did the right thing. People can never be greedy. Let me meet the adoptive mother who is very good to me. If it were not for her, I would have died. Secretary's mansion. This is just Vivian's mother. In the past, I was blinded and hoodwinked. In the future will not. Yun Qing Wan how to say is also your sister. This time she is wrong. I apologize for her to accompany you. Can you let her a way of life? Shin mother opened her mouth in a hurry. I turned around and quietly looked at her for half a second. On what grounds? What are you, my people, want me to listen to your words? I let out a cold smile. Vivian plotted to kill another person's life. According to the law, exile. She will not be allowed to enter the capital for eternity. Since you care about her so much, then go with her. I finished holding Adrian's hand. Let's go home, back to our own home. 3 days later. Vivian was exiled. Shin's mother cried blind and clamored to follow along. By Shin's father. A letter of repudiation. Kicked out of the secretary's mansion. This time no one is stopping her. It is just a famous girl who has been glorious for most of her life. How can one endure the suffering on the way to exile? Adrian, in order to take revenge for me, also personally asked someone to arrange the most dangerous road. That is the road I once came to the capital. Listening to Adrian said, Shin mother had not insisted on 2 days. And left Vivian to run away. As for where she ran off to no one knows. And after He Ming repudiated Vivian, he clamored to marry me. This matter to the palace, was his father interrupted the retreat. When I saw him again, it was New Year's Day. He sat in front of the general's residence with a small rabbit lantern and waited for half the night. When he saw me, his eyes fell on my bulging stomach, and his face was pained. Yun Qing, this is the little bunny lantern I personally made. I remember the year you just went back to Secretary's mansion, clamoring for me to accompany you to the lantern fair. I was ghostly at that time, in order to retaliate back on behalf of Vivian, and left you halfway there. I didn't want to do that at that time. I agreed to accompany you to go to the lantern fair because I really wanted to go with you. It's just that later on, I watched Vivian crying very sadly, so I left you behind for her. It was me who was stupid in the past. I always listened to Vivian and thought you were a woman with a deep heart, and did so many wrong things to you. I know you won't forgive me. This little rabbit lantern is what I owed you in the beginning, and now I'm getting it back. I didn't take that lantern. And the corner of my mouth hooked up a trace of mockery. Why talk everything so grandiose? If you really like me, you wouldn't have married Vivian and then taken a concubine. You are nothing more than not being able to get it in your heart. That's why you're not happy about it. I watched his face become more and more embarrassed and continued to speak. You came here today. Are you still planning to slander me fornicating with an outside man? This little rabbit lantern contains the love letters I wrote. If I accept it, I am doing the truth about my fornication. He Ming didn't expect that he wouldn't be able to hide it from me. He also wanted to pull my hand. Yun Qing, I am not like this. You have to believe me. I took a step back and was steadily caught by Adrian. The guards behind him came together. He Ming was quickly taken down, and as he was leaving he completely stopped pretending to look at me viciously. Serena, it's all your fault. If it wasn't for you, my father wouldn't have given up on me, nor would he have been disappointed in me, and he wouldn't have favored that little bitch of a concubine. Everything in Duke's estate should be mine. It's mine. It turns out that elder Duke, knowing that the rottenness of the family was not enough, gave Duke's estate to his youngest son. As for He Ming, he was kicked out of the house and had no way out, so he thought of me. I laughed in anger when I heard about it. I slapped him in the face. Elder Duke did not like you. That's because he is a wise man. If you are really in charge of Duke's estate, you are the one who has bad luck. Adrian kicks at He Ming, warning him. Don't dare show up again, or I'll kill you. Get out of here. He Ming had his arm removed by Adrian and was thrown out of town half dead. After 10 months of pregnancy, I gave birth to a boy and a girl, and the old madam was overjoyed. The saint learned of this matter, sealed me as titled lady, rewarded gold 10,000 taels. Adrian hated to the whole general's house are stuffed into my hands. Just all were refused by me. The reason is that I am lazy. When the baby was a week old, the general's residence held a birthday banquet. Shin father with the newly married aunt to give me to pay tribute to the joy. Shin father in the final analysis is not hurt me, just negligent care. I also turned a blind eye. 2 years later, the 2 babies turned 3 years old and were brought up extremely well by the old madam. It was only Adrian who complained to me all day long that with 2 little brats, none of us had any personal space of our own. I thought about it and agreed to elope. Now that the court has been cleared of corrupt officials, the world is at peace. Adrian and I also planned to go north, and I wanted to take him to pay homage to my adoptive mother. Just passing by the border city, I stumbled upon Shin's mother begging by the roadside, no longer in her former splendor, only the vicissitudes of not having enough to eat. I thought about it, or put down the carriage curtain, threw down a bag of silver money. Some things, missed is a lifetime. I cannot forgive her, so I choose to spare myself. End.